So, guys, I want to talk about something that's really concerning about AEW. And Off the Mic Sport Network was talking about that one of the most interesting matches on the AEW card is Osprey and Swerve versus the Young Bucks. That if, the Young Bucks win, Osprey and Swerve would, not be able to wrestle for the AEW championship anymore. And the thing about that is that it's very concerning because the main event match is a Texas death match between Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. And what some people are saying is that a booking decision could be that in that match towards the climax, you can have Swerve Strickland if he and Osprey lose and they can't contend for the title. They could do something where Swerve decides to cost Hangman the championship out of just spite, really. And another option is that Osprey could do that as well, really. But I think that I'll talk only about Swerve in this. But that would be a really, really bad option because I think a few things that I'll say is that a lot of people do not like the Moxley faction, and really the AW got momentum when they had the Boston Spring Break show and you put the trios title on the Ops. So it really tells you wholeheartedly that the show and the fans and that everybody is not interested, like the majority is not interested in seeing Moxley continue as a champion. And a continuation of that, it's just going to cause more problems. And you've had dream matches like him against Adam Copeland, and then you've also had questionable matches before, like the Fatal 4-Way at Wrestle Dream, and then you also had him versus Orange Cassidy, and you had him versus Swerve where he made Swerve lose. So whatever Moxley's main event at a pay-per-view, that's always been very poorly received, really. And usually what they say about pay-per-views is that it's almost like 31% of a pay-per-view is the main event, really. So if you flunk that, you flunk that, basically you can't get anything higher than a D, really. Like the main event sucks, really. So you've seen a continuous pattern of Moxley where people don't like the storytelling. He sounds like a poor man's Bray Wyatt, and then he also has been, every pay-per-view he's been involved in where he's main evented, people have had a lot of criticisms, and people have been turned off by AEW, really. So why continue this? So I think another issue is Swerve Strickland. And one of the things that I will talk about is why he should not turn heel and cost John Moxley. That I've actually had nightmares. I'll talk about the nightmare first. I've had nightmares where he does this. And I think what would happen is that a lot of people will do two things. I had nightmares where people were calling him racial slurs even because of because of that. And I think that, we don't want that to happen, really, where fans take it too far and they call him racial slurs, and he may be like, well, fuck AEW, fuck being a wrestler because I just get treated like this, like I'm a character, but you don't take it that far. Just like when New Jack was a wrestler, people used to call him the N-word a lot. So there could be a backlash where it could lead to Swerve being racially harassed. And he's a professional wrestler, just like with Anthony Bowens, people were calling him a fag years ago. You don't call Swerve a nigger. That's out of line, really. But I've had visions where if he turns heel on Adam Page, people would probably call him the N-word and other things like that, really. And that could lead to him saying fuck the company, fuck wrestling, and that could lead to another CM Punk type of situation. The next thing that I would say is that it would turn off a lot of people because people will be like, okay, it's a continuation. Oh, well, it's a continuation. So what's going to happen after this? Are you going to have Darby and Moxley, and that's going to be the ultimate final direction? Or are you going to do something convoluted, and then you're going to have Bryan Danielson come back and get his vengeance against John Moxley? Or are you going to do something where somehow MJF actually, comes in and he becomes the new heel and all that? And I think the next thing, and one of the biggest things, is that it's repetitive. That it would be exactly if Mariah May costed Toni Storm the championship in a line with Mercedes Moné, because Mariah May and Toni Storm had a series of matches, really. So why would I want Swerve to become a massive heel and have another couple of matches with Hangman and Page? We've already seen this, and it's just not good, really, because it's just like, it's repetitive. It becomes John Cena and Randy Orton when they wrestled over 200 times, really. So you just can't really run feuds back and forth too much, really, because it ultimately gets old, really. I think another argument that I would say is that you need a strong heavyweight championship picture. So it's almost like, then Swerve and Ospreay can't wrestle for a year, then Hangman loses his title. It's almost like, who else do you have? And who else is a legitimate threat? Like, the only legitimate threat after that is Hobbs and Samoa Joe, really, because you can't do something like, say, hey, we're going to give it to skinny-ass Darby. And then the other issue is that you could have MJF and Bobby Lashley, but the problem is that you have to have some baby faces. Who are the baby faces? Who are the good guys to go after that title, really? And then also next month is AEW Forbidden Door. So do you want to do Swerve versus Will Ospreay, or do you want to do like Swerve versus Ospreay versus Hangman, or what I would do is do Ospreay, Hangman, and Swerve in a triple threat, like, Honor Among Friends. I think that would be, an optimistic story, really. So I just don't think that that's a good option, really. I think that they really have to think very hardly about, like, long-term booking. And even though people may say it's a compelling twist, it's compelling storytelling, there are such times when the predictable ending is the best ending, which is Hangman overcoming the Moxley faction and people just, getting in there and helping him out, really. Because, it's just like with WWE, a lot of people expect The Undertaker to win at WrestleMania, but they switched to Brock Lesnar, and then a lot of people got turned off from WWE, really, when they should have kept that. Or just like when they have the Nexus versus Team John Cena and Team WWE, the predictable ending would be Team WWE, or another predictable ending could have been the Nexus winning, because, that usually happens where sometimes they want to get a bunch of young people over. So sometimes people change plans because they want something unpredictable, but unpredictable is not always good, really. And I think the last thing that I would say is that you need to give people a feel-good moment with this. This needs to feel like the WrestleMania of the summer. This needs to feel like a big deal. This needs to say AEW has a good direction, because really the core feeling that every fan has is that, is AEW going to go in a better direction from this show, or are they going to continue a cycle of just not doing the best that they can in a downward spiral? And then the other thing is that you have Wembley Stadium next year. Do you want to sell out Wembley Stadium? Do you want 70,000 people? Do you want people to be happy with what they're seeing? Or do you want to be like, well, you know what, we're going to make some fucked up choices, and that's going to lead to us not really listening to our fans, and we're going to do stuff that's going to piss off everybody, and then we're going to have a diminishing return, really, Like I said, learn from what happened learn what happened at Wembley Stadium last year, because you chose Bryan Danielson instead of Hangman Adam Page, and then it led to the Death Riders, and Death Riders has cost like 30-40% of the audience and viewership and other crap like that, really. So the writing's on the wall. The Death Rider thing just can't continue on, really. Just kill it. Don't stick with Moxley. It's going to turn off a lot of people. Don't make Swerve a heel, because I really don't think he's going to get a lot of, like, you know what, boo, he's the villain. Let's see him get his comeuppance. He's going to get a lot of, let's get the fuck off my television, because you don't know how to, because the company does not know how to just make good choices, really. So I would just say, too, that Hangman should win. It's the best choice for the company. Don't get cute and creative and make Strickland a heel.